welcome everybody to the Soil Matters. We have a great show about water again. So I'm going to let Leighton take over, and I'm going to hide in the background. So guys, have a great show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry that unfortunately Av couldn't make it today, crew, but we've got a very good friend, Dennis from Maine, to chop it up. So Dennis, I usually like to open up by asking the guest, how did you end up here? Like, what is your journey? And so maybe you can just give the audience kind of a backdrop of how you ended up to be here now in this place.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having us on. With water, we've been focusing on water for many years, and we've studied everyone we can find that focuses and dedicates their lives to the study of water, and try to learn all we can from them, just as we have with soil. And it's been amazing because we've made some really great friends along the way, all over the world. And we've recently become a board member at Clearwater Vision in California. And that is all about cleaning the water around the world. And its main focus is the oldest lake in the country, Clear Lake in California. We're interested in cleaning the atmosphere as well, because the mercury is mixing with the algae there in the lake and turning into a vapor, and it's just everywhere in the atmosphere. They call it methyl mercury, and it's 1,000 times more dangerous. But we've been working on using water. The beautiful irony here is that we've been working on using water to heal the water and to heal the water that makes up the atmosphere. So it's been really remarkable, all the experiments we've been able to do. We've been somewhat limited with our current systems of observation and our current setup for our laboratory. It's not yet operating at full capacity. It's not, what it should be and could be yet, but we're working on all of these things. And when you separate the two molecules with electricity, hydrogen and oxygen, for example, magic happens, and we can see that water is intelligent and it communicates with everything all the time. And it's also in direct communication with us and our source energy that is all around us, that is us. We have this capacity to, with our connection to God, with our connection to source, we have this capacity to heal the water in this way and bring up the primary water from beneath the crust of the earth. So we're working on all of these different things that really are about the restoration of every breath we take, and the restoration of, the soil all over the earth, and, the true regenerative way. We have to sort of allow this sacred knowledge that the water is here to share with us into this bigger picture of how do we build this bridge into heaven on earth, or a better reality for our next 7 generations. Thinking about the children as maybe the godparents of all children. In that way, we all sort of recognize ourselves in a new way. And this water topic and the health and vitality of these water systems across our planet suddenly mean a great deal to us. And when we talk to our native elders, for example, I think, or any elder, just having this conversation right now, I think we'll all grow in that ability to recognize, hey, you know, who and what we're talking to, and that we are also this energy between us that has the capacity to expand and regenerate all life. And you know, in that recognition, that simple recognition of our power as this flow of energy, and as brothers and sisters all across this world, all of these what used to be challenges are immediately blessings, because we've all lived certain circumstances that lend us these incredible blessings that offer this way forward that is regenerating everything all the time. So with the water, I would say that in the separating the hydrogen and the oxygen, we see that with electrolysis, by the way, that's what they're using to do this electricity. It becomes electrically expanded water, but it's no longer a liquid, it's a gas. And this gas will communicate with all water and all substances instantaneously. And by that, I mean, there are all kinds of observations here that are really important. So if we put the flame that this gas produces, because once the water goes through this process, it's no longer a liquid, it's now a gas. Once we put the gas flame, part hydrogen, part oxygen, they call it the stoichiometric mixture, which is, they say, the perfect mixture. When we put that flame to any inorganic substance, any chemical, any harmful substance, including things like radioactive material, nuclear material, this flame causes an implosion. This perfect stoichiometric mixture causes an implosion. And as it's pulling everything back together really quick like that, it's helping these very complex molecules release their isotopes, release their energetic imbalances while returning it to a state of hydrogen. And that is remarkable because, well, it's remarkable for a million different reasons, but they've shown this in a vacuum. So it's possible to, you know, going back to the mid-90s, this has been going on. So these things like forever chemicals are no longer forever chemicals, because we have, water has this capacity to return things back to the original energies. And, you know, we can talk about water for months. So I'm excited about this. Thank you.
Yeah, we can talk about water for months. So right after I got divorced and kind of got through the first 9 months of trying to figure out what's up and what's down, a friend of mine called me, Mark, down in Puerto Rico, and said, Leighton, have you ever heard of Stan Myers? And I was like, no. And so he sent me some clips, and we dove down that rabbit hole pretty hard, to the point where he had started to weld up these centrifugal or tubes inside of tubes inside of tubes. It was stacked tubes to create this process that you're talking about. So the more surface area that you can charge, the more gas you can release. So he got it down to a point where, you know, he had a little one that he used as his prototype, and then we built a big one. And when I was down there, we were touching off these explosions, but again, they're not explosions, they're implosions that were loud enough to get car alarms and people to come knocking, because they're like, you guys all right, man? What the fuck was that? And we were like 2 kids stoned off our asses, laughing hysterically with pink splatter all over the friggin' ceilings. And that is what you're calling, or that's what you're talking about as far as contaminant. Any kind of contaminant in the water, when it is released through this process of adding fire to this gas, amazing things happen. Like we noticed that, you know, again, any impurity was splats on the wall. I went so far as to take the little prototype home, and I put on a workshop at my son and daughter's high school, and I got my kids involved. I had Camden running the camera. I had my son up on the stage, and my daughter Kaylee was working some other part, maybe the lights or the sound, I forget. But I got them to allow me to touch this stuff off in the middle of a school, which is like, you can't set off a bomb in school. And I'm like, no. It's not an explosion. It's an implosion. Is there anything in any of your paperwork that says you cannot touch an implosion off at your school? Fortunately, I was pretty well connected with the principal and the teachers and stuff because it was a small school. So they gave me the benefit of the doubt and they let me do this. And boy, did those kids get excited. Like to see this, we made bubbles. So basically put dish soap into the vessel where we were creating these gases. So you get these bubbles, like, the ones you blow with a bubble thing. So I'd get a big bubble in his hand and I'd take the lighter and touch it off. And of course it would explode. Everybody jumped back and freaked out. Oh my God, are you okay, McKay? Are you okay? And he's like, no, you can't feel it. It's a slight pressure. So I totally understand what you're saying. And, once again, it gets so frustrating with society or the system the way it is, because Stan's work should have been out there since he created that water car in the 70s. And unfortunately, like everything we see that's really beneficial for the human race, shit happens. So I'm really excited to hear that you've gone on and continue this work. Now, I'd never heard of anybody doing that in a vacuum, but that's another amazing way to test some of these other functions, or I shouldn't say gain of function, right? Careful. Functions of that, what I want to call stripping water back to its purest form, which is H2O. Yeah. And water is acid, right? Water is the ultimate solvent on this planet. So it does pick up everything. So you could actually, like you said, clean the water with the water and then dilute it out. So tell me more about this. This is really, really intriguing.
It's totally incredible. We started to observe water communicate with the flame, talking about the stoichiometric flame. In order to get that same flame without a bubble, which is absolutely brilliant, brother, that idea with a bubble, what it does is it eliminates the possibility of the atmospheric oxygen interweaving with the stoichiometric mixture that is in the bubble. So that concept is the same idea as working in the vacuum. That's really remarkable that you were doing that years ago, because I recently just had this realization or inspiration that I could use a bubble to eliminate harmful substances in the atmosphere with this gas. So, and very easily and in a very cost-effective, very, very effective way. So bubbles give us an opportunity to heal the atmosphere in very large capacity easily, and it'll be fun too. So I think
Dennis's bubble machine. I love it.
It's an amazing concept, brother, and I think that's amazing that you were doing that years ago. So, but I'm not really surprised knowing you, to be honest. So we've just been working with this flame, and we realized that the atmosphere has 18% oxygen, and in order to have the perfect stoichiometric mixture with this flame, we had to eliminate, or at least somehow separate the flame from the atmosphere. And I guess there was a secret back in the day. They were using alcohol, and also lighting this alcohol flame on the outside of the stoichiometric mixture flame, which eliminated the atmospheric oxygen and allowed that perfect flame to communicate with any substance, which, returns everything back to hydrogen. But it also will meld all dissimilar metals, amalgamize all dissimilar metals. So it doesn't matter what metals you're working with. It does not matter what their melting points are. You can literally combine crystals with metals and all these different things. So it's really remarkable what water is capable of. But if you observe what is happening instantaneously when you put this flame with anything, it's really incredible. Everything responds immediately. So even though the flame is 270 degrees by itself, as soon as you put it to wood, it gets to wood's melting point, which is really low, so very close to the flame. But then if you put it to something higher temperature melting point, like steel, for example, it gets to that melting point immediately. And then tungsten, which is like 18,000 degrees or something crazy, it gets that temperature immediately. So there are all these different levels of communication going on between this water flame, this perfect energy, which is, by the way, endless and free. It's the sustainability for everything. It's like the support system that we all need to, to bridge the old to the new. It is everything that we need. We need to take better care of the water, but it's teaching us all kinds of really incredible things about our ability to observe things, our ability to expand our comprehension and our awareness while doing these experiments, because we've never seen these things before. So the other day I was doing experiments, dangerous experiments by myself, which I often do. Dangerous meaning I just haven't done a certain experiment before. I like to do it alone in case something goes awry or whatever. You never know what's going to happen when these things haven't been done before. I'm mixing alcohol flame with hydrogen and oxygen, and but anyways, I made a mistake of shutting off this machine before shutting off the line that went to the alcohol. And I just used this little alcohol container, metal container, but it wasn't high enough grade metal to prevent an explosion. So when it had a backdraft, because I forgot to shut off the valve and I only shut off the machine, that flame followed the alcohol vapor back to the origin, and it actually had an explosion. So that was something I wasn't used to. Explosions to have to be dealing with an explosion, and then realizing that I'm working with both. There could be other things at play that I wasn't really considering. So I'm gonna put that part of the experiment aside for now until I get better equipment. But it's really remarkable when given the full capacity of this perfect flame to that's cool.
Oh, you got them started. Okay, the star of the show barks, and now everybody's got a bark.
Oh, you're out of control. Look, you're causing all these problems. You're causing all these problems.
So good.
You're okay. You're okay. I'm right here. I guess this conversation is getting him excited as well.
Definitely.
You getting excited? Well, he knows when I get excited, like when I'm on to something, like what you're talking about. I get crazy. I get like really high, like not just excited, but fucking high.
Yeah.
So, you can tell when I'm wound up like that. But yeah, so there was a piece of information that came to me about exactly what you're talking. This guy has created a torch that he uses exactly the same principles, and he puts it up to his hand and it doesn't burn his finger, touches it to wood, it ignites, cuts through fucking metal like butter. Yeah. So, I mean, this technology is out in the mainstream hands, which is amazing, because typically that kind of stuff would get snuffed before it ever, really expanded to a point where somebody could not only build a machine like that, but demonstrate it, publicly. So I think that in many ways, finally the curtains, the blinds, the restrictions on human expansion are knowledge are being ripped back or pulled down. So I'm
We're
really
moving
excited.
too fast for them to actually slow us down is the problem for them.
You know, maybe that's right. Maybe their worst nightmare came true, and that the fact that we can communicate worldwide in real time now, whereas before it was letters, or you know, maybe if you were lucky you could get a wire, you know, before telephones. But yeah, you know, I keep saying this. It's just a really fucking interesting time to be alive with the insanity of humanity, and then yet here we are with these inspirations and pockets of hope that are, you know, really creating some greater understandings of our connection with spirit, one, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So, can you expand a little bit more on you know, perhaps this relationship with California and where they're going to take that?
Yeah, you know, we have big plans with Clearwater Vision, and it includes all of our families. You know, the reality is that we're all learning so much so quickly about water and about everything, really, about what's real and what matters. And having all of this controversy and bullshit all around us all the time, it helps us actually connect to what is meaningful and helping us find these solutions at a time when we really need them the most. And it's really remarkable. Like this gas, it's been around since the 90s. And even before that, I think that, like you said, Stan Myers, he was really on to this stuff early on. And so, you know, the Brown's gas it's really incredible. We've been working with it for a while. That's Russell Anderson. He's the world's leading expert on primary water, living expert on primary water. And he's, you know, the CEO of Clearwater Vision. But yeah, there's a couple of really good interviews with him. But he has all of these incredible stories that he's written 27 years ago, and maybe 28 years ago. I think that the timeline with you and him, Leighton, are exactly the same. You guys have been at this, one from, you know, the soil aspect and one from the water aspect, but you're both like, you really need to meet, because not just like online, but really meet, like spend some time together, because there's so much that you both will resonate with. And, you know, it's your neighbors already. So everything points towards this. You know, he can introduce you to, and you could introduce him to some like really incredible groups. Putting all that together would be.
It sounds like it's the universe hard at work, as always.
Absolutely.
You know?
Sounds like we need to have him on the channel, is what it sounds like to this guy.
Yeah.
So do you have his contact information, Dennis?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. So,
show that.
yeah. So Ken, you know how to get a hold of Dennis. So just reach out when he gets off and hit him up for that contact information, and we'll bring him on the show and see where it goes. I mean, I'll be more than happy to reach out to him as well. You know, I've been doing some other work that's kind of dovetails to some of this shit, but we won't get into that here now. But so he has an operation. What is it? A nonprofit or a not-for-profit operation up in this lake, and this is what he's doing, is actually scrubbing water at this point in time.
Yeah, they've been working with that lake for many years, over 20 years, and, you know, communicating with people all over the world for all of these different water projects all over the world, and for, you know, decades now. So it all started with Russell. His experience with all of this started with Yule Brown, and Brown's gas is what they call this gas, stoichiometric mixture. But yeah, the science comes from his work. And then, you know, nowadays the machine is being made by a man named George Wiseman. The name of the machine is AquaCure. But yeah, it's it's really incredible. I'm pretty confident that this machine has actually saved lives in our family and community, simply by what it does with water and the healing capacity that it has when a few of our family members were not breathing well at all. It kept all of our family members going. My father still has a collapsed lung. They call it a trapped lung, and he's doing better finally. But yeah, that's been a real problem. He went to the hospital, and even though he had a collapsed lung, they were like shocked to see that he had full oxygen saturation, and they had no understanding of what was going on there, so they had to tell him, using that machine. But it's helped my wife, and it's helped my mom.
Was that the right website? aquacure.co.uk?
The website, I think, is Eagle Research, something or rather.
So Ken's going to dive back in and try to find that. So this is like a counter water scrubber. Is that what you're more or less talking about? That's helped your family?
Yeah, it's the same machine that creates that torch. It's called the Brown's gas machine, but it's also called the AquaCure. It communicates with the hydrogen in the body in a way that amplifies by nourishing our bodies, being that they're basically all hydrogen. Amplifying the amount of hydrogen in our bodies is an incredible way to nourish our bodies in a way that offers us this ability to, that's it right there, this ability to achieve a far better quality of life. And
so can you pull up the picture of the machine that they're selling? I
will try.
It's like this is like the same thing that the indigenous knew, like water coming down a waterfall, bubbling through rocks. Yes. Provides this charge, this pure water cleansing. I don't know another way to say it, but it's basically H2O, but with minerals. So, I mean, I don't know. You're probably the same age as me. Did you remember seeing that commercial when we were kids, where the Indian was crying, looking at the swamp with a tire and all the trash in it? Remember that commercial?
I don't. I guess.
Yeah. So. That was what sent me on my journey. Was that one picture, and it was a commercial that I saw right around the same time that I realized that there was life and death. So I call it the awakening for when a child stops playing and starts to be more understanding of the world around them. Wow, that's fantastic! It's only $2,500.
Yeah, that's the machine right there.
And how much water does it actually produce?
It has a breathing apparatus. It has a torch. It has a mask that you can wear to improve your vision. You can breathe the water. You can drink the water. You can bathe in the water. So we've been talking about the possibility of putting up a hydrogen bar at the barn. We have one available that everybody can use, but we're considering getting a couple more. But as we have all of these different options for water. We also have a Kangen machine, but something that we're really excited about is something else that you were just talking about, is a structuring device. And our bodies have been really craving this structured water. So we have this, we have like 4 or 5 different waters available at the farm. Actually, with one machine, we have like 6 or 8 different waters, so that we have a lot more than that. But we have like basically a lot of options for water, and our bodies keep asking for the structured water. And then basically we've been taking this structured water and infusing that with the Brown's gas. And with the Brown's gas, it's had the electrolysis process, which is a frequency infused into the water, as well as the Brown's gas. So if you're drinking the water, we just love the stuff. It just makes you feel really good. It energizes you. you can actually feel your body like optimized, and it gives you a new feeling for regenerative, I guess would be a good way to say it. But energy and clarity and, everything seems to improve, even the sleep and lots of little things you'll notice, just being able to, go to the bathroom easier and more regularly. All of these things they just happen when we use these gases either in the water or breathing it. But I think it's incredible that water has that capacity to communicate through the flame. It has that capacity to communicate through the gas. It has as we all know, we've been nourishing our physical forms with water our entire lives. But what happens when we amplify this water with our inspiration, with our connection to spirit and connection to God, with our, all of that felt connection that we experience maybe in a near-death experience, where we can actually look back at this experience and realize that you're looking back at your body, what you used to identify with, realizing that you're also that observer part of you looking back, but also you're the energy that is connected to all of it. And having that for experience, for me, helped me realize that this physical vehicle, this form is amazing, and nourishing it is amazing. And, experiencing life through it is just absolutely incredible every day. But there's something else, there's something so big here that we all know to be true. And connecting all of these dots through the water allows us a new explanation for what's happening in meditation. It offers a physical connection for every cubic centimeter of space and existence, and all of the energy that's present. The other day we were talking about this. It's something that, you and I would talk about, and all the three of us would talk about sometime, I bet. But recently we were talking about what's making up the atom, the energy of the atom, and how we're also present there. And it's present here in the physical too. It's really remarkable, that God particle, the Higgs boson, how it comes in and out of existence, and our ability to observe it it's obviously limited, because all of our powers of observation are drastically limited, because we can only experience a certain amount of the light spectrum. We can only experience whatever our consciousness, whatever we're willing to open to. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to
let me reel this back just for a minute, because I wanted to explain something to the audience that we haven't touched on yet. And that is, in Stan Meyer's work, not only did he run anode and cathodes, positive and negative, into these centrifugal, I can't fucking say it. Tubes.
Centrifugal?
No, they're like sequential. They get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Okay, yeah.
Tubes, right? So not only he didn't just run straight power in there, he ran it through a not a phase shifter. Basically, it's a tool used in music making.
A signal generator or a waveform generator?
Waveform generator. So basically, pulses. He talked about in his work creating resonance. Now, when resonance happens, it's the same thing that I see when I'm screening compost on a vibrating screener. I have all of these different frequencies. It's a variable frequency drive, so I can go up or down. But when I get to this exact right spot, water just pours out of the compost. But if I'm not in the right spot, it just drips. So it's the same thing. It's resonance. And what I've noticed it does, because those pieces of organic matter are now been subject to resonance, they are magnetically charged, both negatively and positively. So they just attract other negative and positive soil particles, i.e. clay, silt, sand, you name it. So they just come together and start aggregating incredibly quick. Like if I put it on a counter, I'll come back later the day and it will have started to aggregate. Even though it went through a 47 micron screen, it aggregates. It turns into Rice Krispies if left alone. You know, it's insane what happens. So Stan had figured out with the use of this wave driver that he could create a resonance, and that's exactly what you're talking about. It's charging the electrons and protons that are in every one of your cells. So that only makes sense that it gives you a clearer, broader ability to sense the electrical charges that are around you, that you are making. And so therefore, of course, it would connect you closer to source. I mean, I'm thinking like this would be an amazing thing to do, is to make cacao and then do a cacao meditation ceremony. I think that would just be like next level. Have you ever thought of doing something like that?
We actually had one maybe two months ago, a month ago or so, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. We had a shaman that was playing a flute that was just whoa. And, you know, with the cacao and everybody, you know, everybody's still talking about that ceremony. Since, you know, we've done mushroom and cacao ceremony, and, you know, these things they're all, you know, individual experiences that sort of like merge together, just like this conversation is, with all of these different levels of energy that we're using and communicating with, and realizing that, you know, our intention is helping design this, and our frequency and our energy, our reception of it, and our giving to it, and all of this flow of energy is, like you were just saying, maybe no longer impeded, but we are attuning and aligning our frequencies in a way that allow the water's communication and pathways to be clearer and far more valuable in their intrinsic nature of regeneration. So if we can find the right pathways, the right frequencies, and we can really align our, you know, what we know to be true with, you know, which is, you know, all around us in our ecosystem. I'm not talking about what we know to be true in, you know, that illusion of separation that we've all been conditioned through, but like, I feel like we're all allowing our hearts and our waters to help this heal and help this expand into what is real according to this. And according to what we're seeing on the slides and from the water, and what we're seeing for the communication between the water and the indigenous organisms in the soils, and the aquatic organisms in the water, and all of these life systems at the macro and micro level are in direct communication and recognizing one another in a way that the plants are, the nourishment is of much higher light value, of much higher healing capacity, not just in a way that it's nutritive value, but this energetic communication, this renewable and regenerative way that is expanding within the water within us, is helping the rest of our DNA sort of like light up or activate. And I feel like all of this is happening in that presence of truth that comes from here and instills in us that drive to reach out to incredible experts like you, Leighton, like so many people have dedicated their lives to the study of soil, the study of water, the study of all of these things in the practice. That's the big piece that we've realized lately, is that our empowerment is in our recognition and our practice of this new existence that we're co-creating in the real, in the more meaningful existence that we've all shown each other is, this system of reassurances that are just happening. We've been calling synchronicities, but the reality is it's just
You're
manifestations.
you're generating them, literally.
Yeah.
You're co-creating them.
Yeah.
And, to be honest with you, I'm no expert. I just like to be considered a good student. Like, I ask questions, I keep digging, I'm never satisfied.
Yeah.
So, and I think that similar with a lot of people that have, tremendous drive when they finally find the path, right? So, you found your path, you're blessed. There's a lot of people stumbling around in the dark out there that potentially may never find their path. So by co-creating those types of energies, you're actually going to help people that are stumbling around in the dark find those directions. I mean, you don't know how many times people have hit me up and been like, oh my God, you inspired me. You gave me purpose. You helped me start doing this or start doing that. And it's the same thing, Dennis. And I knew it as soon as I fucking hugged you that time, that he was like, whoa, holy fuck, this guy's strong. But now you have a tool to, like a tuning fork. Bing, now you're spreading that energy around, which is even more beautiful. So, kudos for you for trying and actually explaining it, because you did. You just explained it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening that are like, well, what the fuck was he just saying? You're going to have to listen to it again, people, a few times, because he put together the appropriate words at the appropriate time. If it doesn't make sense to you, you need to listen to it until it does make sense to you, because it truly is. It's the Buddha, right? It's the energy that's created from within, that connects with what's out, that continues to pass on and on and on through everything it comes in contact, whether it's a plant, a rock, or another human. And maybe you connected with that rock, but another person comes along and picks up that rock. Now that's been transferred to them. So you're basically just showering the world with seeds of love and energy. I'm just like, I'm just so proud and honored to have you as a friend, and to know that you're doing this kind of work is amazing. It's been a year since we really connected. So yeah, I mean, just people, please listen to that again. Listen to what he said again and again and again until it makes sense, because I think it's a really important message.
Thank you so much, brother. We miss you.
Yeah, I know. I miss you guys too. And fortunately, I'm not going back this year. I just have too much work out here to keep going. But I will probably, and I will make a time to get up to Meehan and see you guys. Your family is just so blessed, and work with you. And for the audience who doesn't know, his boys were the first solid sample that I ever looked at under a microscope that was better than anything I had made. That just blew me away. I was like, oh, and it wasn't one sample. How many did they bring me? Like 5?
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, brother. Big time. So moving forward, now that you've realized, you've comprehended the co-creation around you, where's your direction? Or you're just a compass spinning because there's so many possibilities?
Well, we sort of have all of that going on. I guess we have our calendar went from pretty empty to literally every single day we have things going on, and every weekend is this new incredible blessing. Like a couple of weekends ago, we had this primitive skills weekend that was life-changing. I mean, we all learned how to light fire with a couple of sticks in different ways, and that was amazing. We learned how to really listen to the birds by an expert, and all of these different things, like learn how to make baskets, basket weaving out of what you get from an ash tree, a black ash tree. By hammering it and getting these little tiny strips off of it, and then weaving those strips together to make a basket. And we've there's just all of these different crazy things. This coming weekend, we have a music event that's also like a Joe Dispenza meditation event. And then next weekend, my oldest daughter is getting married. We have all of this stuff going on. It's just been really blessing after blessing. We're interested in this ability to reach across the country and then reach across the world as a family. And, we've been asked to do this by indigenous elders on the West Coast. And we've been talking to lots of different people about healing the water and healing the atmosphere with these different systems, some as simple as a bubble and some more complex. But, I think that we have this capacity to like get back to what's always worked, like the bubble, brother, because from my perspective, with all the experiments that we've done, I'm going to find it very difficult to come up with something as effective and as immediate as a bubble in our ability to restore the atmosphere. So that was amazing. Bringing
All right,
that.
so put on your seatbelt and put on your helmet. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Years back, I started working with this cat who had, I don't know whether he got it or bought it, but it was a patent for a nano bubbler maker. Now, there's information on nano bubbles out there, but don't get caught with bullshit because like everything, there's a lot of snake oil salesmen. This particular company is called Gaia Water. Ken, see if you can pull it up. So what this is a 3D printed little stop. It's 12 inches long, maybe 2-inch diameter. And what it does is it creates cavitation. So cavitation is like gravity. It's a force that's very difficult to explain. But imagine it being in a outboard motor boat going upstream, and you'll hit a certain point where the motor just starts screaming, but you're going backwards. You lost traction, right? That's essentially what it is. You lost traction in water. So by creating cavitation, he then injects pure oxygen. So he takes a little oxygen unit that you get at your nursing home with a little mask on it, and he injects it exactly at the appropriate point in cavitation and creates nanobubbles. Now, the most interesting thing about this is you can get up to 30 parts per million dissolved oxygen in water column. And typically, if you get to 15, you'll start to burn the eyes of fish. But the thing is, because they're nanobubbles, they don't explode, they implode. Okay, so imagine you hooked your Brown's gas machine to one of these and shot that into a lake. Do you know how quickly you'd clean the water in that lake?
I cannot wait, brother. I don't know how to get this thing immediately. Let's get this thing today. Yeah.
I have one here in California. So when you connect me with your buddy, I'll bring it up to the lake up there, and we'll jack it in and get it going.
Excellent.
And the interesting thing is too that when you build up that DO in the water column, it slowly releases back and maintains a high level of dissolved oxygen to the point that I can put like my biological mayonnaise, which goes anaerobic like within a day or two, if it's not continually agitated with oxygen or atmospheric air through an air pump. I was able to ship it cross country and have it stable, not a problem, because the oxygen is released as it required based on the biological oxygen demand of BOD of the biology. Now here's where it gets really fucking crazy. So he also learned that if he took the oxygen off and plugged in CO2 and used that to fight fires, it was 5 times more effective than water by itself. So I tried to pitch a few firefighters out here, and they were just thought I was fucking crazy, thought I had 3 heads. And so I just gave up. I was like, you guys, here's the greatest advance in firefighting the world has ever fucking seen. You could put one of these on you could give them to people that have pools. And when there's a fire in their area, you ask them to flip that switch. Now their pool is generating CO2 liquid that they could use instead of the fire retardant that's fucking killing the forest.
Wow, brother. So this technology is also perpetual energy. I've seen cavitation. I've studied it. I've studied it in a different capacity though. I've studied it for energy production, and this is maybe not energy. That's a difficult topic, the production of energy, but this one in particular, cavitation it has the capacity to make free energy everywhere for everyone across the world. And there are lots of different ways we can achieve cavitation, but the same principle applies. These nano bubbles are pure gold as far as our need for energy and our ability to use energy as far as heating homes or, lighting greenhouses or, any number of things that we use energy for.
Right, create heat or electricity with it.
Yeah, it's really remarkable that we no longer need all of these systems that are not sustainable, but water, which is, water is it's
life.
Yeah, but it doesn't disappear. Like the same amount of water has always been here, and if we just start to be better stewards of that connection while using the energy that is available in every cubic centimeter of space, or in every tablespoon of water that we get from the ocean, we suddenly have this capacity to amplify the energy in all of our agriculture, all of our medicines, amplify the energy in all of our bodies, amplify the energy everywhere on earth, free, all for free, which is, I think that people like Stan Myers or Yul Brown or any of the experts that have been, teaching us about water going throughout history, there have been so many. Victor Schauberger, that guy is like a legend. But even the consciousness stuff from Japan and
Harold Pollack's work. We had him on a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
I just keep thinking
fantastic.
of easy water and how it increases with the UV radiation. You might want to take a look at that.
I definitely will. I can't wait to see that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was on, I think, 2 weeks ago. So,
yeah.
He's incredible. Easy water, exclusion zone, all of it, all of his observations, all of his work is really remarkable. The man
what's so sad, Dennis, is that he's so underfunded. He can't get people to give him money because he's outside of their box. And it's just, again, the limitation of the evolution of humanity because of money and control.
That's beautiful what you just said, brother, because no expansion happens inside that fucking box. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to get outside of it in order for us to even begin to experience that expansion. So,
and heal from it. Heal from the confinement of the box.
Yeah.
The only problem is, dude, you lose a lot of friends along the way. But that's the price you pay for expansion and enlightenment.
Yeah. And family too. That happens where, people just get tired of hearing these new solutions that are available to all of us. They want to focus on, the old energies, which, and that's what the prophecies say, that there will be those that focus on the old world and those that focus on the new. In reality, we're just here to help us all as a family remember that we are family, first off, and secondly, we are this energy that is in between us as well as this physical form that we think is us. And once we really realize that this recognition of one another and this expansion that happens by noticing and by simply honoring the God that I'm talking to right now, the creator that I'm, the source energy that I'm talking to in this communication, and everyone else that is watching right now, whether now is right this minute or 10 years down the road, or, it's just this ability for all of us to return home. And as we begin to practice this, what we find to be real, that's when the magic starts to happen, because the practice and the new observations and the new levels of comprehension and awareness that come from that practice, and that celebrating and that joy and that giving, and it's just the celebrating of the giving, because as we give, we like really remember who we really can be. And like tying all of that together as a family, that is empowerment. That it all becomes empowerment. Like, you can look outside anywhere, you can look inside anywhere, all you see is God, all you see is empowerment. Literally all you see is your capacity to create according to your desire and your connection to that source energy. And as we're practicing this together and no longer even noticing or recognizing, because as we recognize, we assign feelings with that recognition, and with the feeling we manifest. So if we're manifesting from the feelings of connection, and we're manifesting from what we're observing in the water and that interaction between us, it all just starts to thrive. Like you said, it sort of like even transcends the healing into this new energy that we're co-creating the expansion of, because we stepped out of this confinement and this enslavement or program or conditioning or whatever you want to call this system of minimizing seeds of creation. Because as soon as you realize, brother, that you are a creator, the game was over. As soon as anyone else realizes and they yank that veil off that separated them from their brothers and sisters, and that separated from them from the energy that's here in front of them, but also all around the world, like now we're communicating with the water in a way that is evolving all of it through that consciousness that we're all connected to. So when that brother or sister is returning through controversy, through these systems of separation, they're returning home to love. We're just here to look through the illusion, directly through the illusion, and into the eyes of source, into the eyes of God that we are communicating with, that is also part of our being, and recognizing, noticing, honoring what we're communicating with and who we're communicating with. And in that recognition of together, we're experiencing this empowerment that now we have a vegetable that we can take one bite of, and it feels like I've never been nourished like that my entire life. So, and that was one bite. But it's happening with the water, it's happening with the soil, it's happening with the microorganisms that you teach us about. All of these different things that you brothers are sharing, the sacred elder and child of God wisdom with us. We're all sort of like being nourished by this, and we're all collectively adding to this love. And through this expansion, we're becoming our true nature. We're recognizing who and what
hitting our potential.
Yes.
Hitting our potential. So have you seen the study that was done on the human heart? And it was done, a really interesting approach to it. So this gentleman hooked up meters to the people that were being tested, their head, so that they could measure all the brain waves, and their heart so that they could measure their heart rate. And all of it was recorded, and these people were put by themselves, and they had a pair of goggles, and the operator would flash an image for 3 seconds in front of them and watch the brain waves and the heart waves. And so what they noticed was that the brain saw the picture 5 seconds before they flashed it. And they only flashed it for 3 seconds. but the brain already started, or excuse me, the heart already changed its rate before the picture came. And the person didn't know when the picture was coming. And all of the pictures were random. They were either, beautiful serenity pictures or horrifying images. So they were, one or the other of your, your being, either a trauma or something that made you, enlightened. But the fact that the heart could see the image coming before the image came is just, again, it's showing how our connection is beyond our comprehension of the reality around us. So, I talk to people about seeing the future, and seeing the future is actually very fucking easy. It's just a matter of assembling dots. Like, all right, this happened today, this happened tomorrow, or this happened last week, this happened yesterday, this happened today. Those are 3 data points. And if they're all pointing in the same direction, you can pretty much assume that tomorrow this is going to happen or that's going to happen. So it's just a learned knowledge. Now, how do you predict the future with certain things? Well, you pay attention to them. The best observation, or the best science, is 50% observation. So if you take the time to observe around you, say it's a stalk, say it's a bird, say it's a returning butterfly to your garden, but it always comes back on this day or that day, but you're observing it, you're noticing it. Well, then you can predict tomorrow that butterfly will be here at 11:11, right? And so, these kinds of tools have been stolen from us. We've been dumbed down against them. But again, they're things that people have to understand, is your heart's already reading the situation before it even happens. And that through the power of observation, you can predict the future, where it's going.
Yeah, I'd say a couple of things are going on there. And I'd like to point at a couple experiences we've all had. But first I'll say it is part of my awareness that we've all had this conversation like this. We've all experienced this before. And I'll start there, but I'll explain it by saying deja vu.
Right.
So somehow in the present, we are aware of the future from the past. Somehow from the past or from the present, we are aware of our future with such clarity that we have a complete copy of those images or that movie playing in our existence. And a couple of things here. I think that we've been around this. I think that we've actually done this. It's there are these different realities that, or dimensions maybe, that we are all connected to, and that's part of. I was talking about time the other day with a friend, and he was mentioning that motion is a good way of looking at time, and our capacity to observe time has a lot to do with motion. And I would agree with a lot of that. I think it's remarkable, though, because if we're sort of like recognizing what's going on in the heart and its capacity to recognize future events long before they happen, a short time before they happen, instantaneously, like an instant before it happens, and what's going on with our capacity to slow time. So like if there's some sort of a trauma that's about to happen in any of our lives, if we are like aware of what's happening, most of us have this capacity to like heighten our awareness and somehow slow time and react within that all at the same time. But I think it's directly connected to what I call our primary senses. So we have one primal sense, and our primary senses are all of our different, endless, countless systems of clairvoyance, where we can observe and receive and give energies from anything and everything all around us in all different ways. So telepathy is something that we've practiced as a family for many years, and I think most families do it without even really giving much focus on it, or much
They don't recognize it.
dedication to their practice of it, because it's just sort of, all of us have been trained to not see these things, to separate ourselves from anything that is a little bit different than what Jimmy is doing, and Uncle Sam taught us what Jimmy's doing. So this whole system of separation, we can easily see, there are totally two different worlds. And in our recognition of what's happening with the heart and its recognition of all time, long before this catches up, it's really remarkable that we have this ability to also let that energy guide us. And because it knows, brother, it's feeding us that information that is all of existence. It's all of consciousness. And a lot of people talk about Christ consciousness like it's in their physical form. But Christ consciousness is everywhere. And this God consciousness, this source consciousness, this oneness consciousness, call it whatever we want to, it is us. And I think that recognizing that we are also out there helps us bridge that gap and realize that we are the communication in the water that is connecting us right now, in all aspects of this gathering, and our brothers and sisters who are here with us that I can't even see on the screen, in all time, that my heart can feel weeks from now, months from now, because I've been there receiving that love from an interaction online that took place months or years ago, that I'm just like, oh my word, these, I can't believe I just learned all this stuff. And really, it's just like us remembering, right? I feel like the heart is remembering all of this, and it's remembering a better way to honor you, Leighton, and all of your family, all of us. Honor all of us that are present in that presence that is also the energy between us, and is also in the form looking back at me that is God. And in that recognition, I think that it begins to become a party, and like the celebration, as if we were finally allowing the children that have always been sort of like maneuvered or positioned not to be that connection. We're allowing that part of us, the recognition between each of us, in a way that exemplifies the expansion of that truth. And when we do that, the water, we can then communicate with the water that is beneath the surface of the earth, and bring it up to return all of life to that thriving state. And I feel like we're all doing this together, and we all get to experience this massive wave of empowerment that happens from this connection, and gratitude in every breath for our connections to our children. And as godparents to every child, we really do remember that each of the indigenous microorganisms are also our children. They are also of this source creation that we are intrinsically part of. We are that image, remembering that we are that image of love, and that we are this capacity to expand. We have this intrinsic, innate connection and ability to expand that consciousness of truth in a way that offers all of us this new level of abundance in all of what matters, in all of abundance, like everything that you desire, brother. You've experienced so much contrast that now is your time to celebrate everything that you can possibly come up with for your highest possible revelation of that truth, that highest possible vibration of that pure source energy that is exhilarated, latent in every moment that you choose it, and that exhilarated recognition between us. And like, as we create this bridge together across the world, we're literally teaching one another that family is now like reaching new levels of comprehension and awareness that transcends all of our current ability to accept information. And
so let me ask you a question, Dennis, or maybe I should make a statement. So if you want to give another human the ability to begin into a life, if you want to give them the keys in the box and come out of the box and get away from what has been restricting them and preventing them from evolving and growing spiritually and connecting with source and everything around them, give them the ability to be grateful for every day and every minute, no matter how bad or good it is, you still should be grateful, right? So the whole key to that thing is one word: fear. That fear they've used to separate us, that fear they've used to make you worry, oh my God, am I going to have enough money to pay the rent? Am I going to have enough money for food next month? That fear, that's the thing that they've used to lock us into that box and keep us in there and prevent us from realizing, oh my God, how blessed am I to be breathing and eating a meal today, or taking a walk, or working. Like work is not a bad thing. It's actually, it doesn't even work if you enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy what you do, it's because you're feared. You're fearing something. You're fearing you're not going to be successful. You're fearing people are going to look down on you because you don't make as much money as them, or you don't drive a car like them. All of those things are meant to keep us in the fear, not to allow us that enlightenment. And it was, it was that aha moment after the divorce that unleashed me and said, you know what? Fuck it. I've lost everything. Why do I care? Why would I worry about anything? And I just stopped caring, dude. I stopped caring. If I had $1, I gave it away because I knew that whatever I needed would come. But that was the key, was losing the fear. And that's hard, dude. That's the hardest thing in the fucking world for a human to do, is lose the fear. Walk up to a complete stranger, give them a hug and say, is there anything I can do for you today? Go to a homeless person, bring them back to your house. Hey, you need a bed for tonight? I did that. He didn't want to come. He's like, no, I'm perfectly happy. I love my place. I'm like, okay, I just figured I'd offer. But that fear, that's the thing that's fucking keeping everybody in the box. And you don't have it. You don't have any fear. I knew that when I looked into your eyes and met you the first time. You have no fear. You might worry, but that's not fear, right?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. That fear is the biggest tool of separation that they use against us. That system has held us back from our ability to even create true seeds of creation. So if we're creating seeds from that place of separation or from that fear, then we're creating from a consciousness of lack. And even if we're trying to offer love to somebody, we're packaging it in this fucking fear box that is fake and disingenuous, and it's felt that way when it's received. But that isn't your intention. The reason that you package that way is because you want it to be felt and received in what you perceive to be high truth. But the reality is that what you're saying, brother, is in that consciousness of worry and separation in all its forms. I mean, there are so many forms of separation. we're sort of lost in that, and we don't really have or even recognize who or what we really are. And if we start to, that's when we start to see these reassurances and these assurances of who and what we are. So as we're practicing these what you find all over the internet, they call it the truthers. You know, that they're spouting fear everywhere. They're literally projecting from this place of, look at this, look at this, look at this. There are all these challenges, but in reality, everybody already knows about these challenges. We've lived it for millennia, for lifetimes. We are experts and masters at that separation. We once were that connection, though, and in our ability to choose what you're saying, brother, to choose to what we find while we're brushing our teeth, looking out the window and just finding ourselves daydreaming, or we have our hands in the soil and we realize we haven't had a thought in 10 minutes. That is what's happening, brother. That it's some of us in the past, like we've associated all of our being with what's going on here. And this is the separation and is the disconnection of who we really are. Because it's what's been trained to do so in all aspects of our interaction and all aspects of our recognition. So when I recognize something, I'm either recognizing it in that minimized expression, like, oh yeah, that water thing, that's a big deal. That structured water thing, I heard about that. Or you could be like, oh, what happened when I drank that water was suddenly I got this boost of energy and I couldn't believe it. So I started giving it to my dog and he got the same thing. And then I gave it to my plants and my plants are like, what's going on here? That's just water that's been put into a vortex, a simple vortex. And now it's like released its foreign substances. And now it's a more pure version of that source energy. And like, as we have this new capacity for observing what's going on in our recognition of it. So in our recognition of our seeds of creation and our ability to step fully out of the old world that separates us, which is this, that it's been manipulated and systematically, we've all sort of like learned that mastery, and it's an unconscious thing. So we're not even necessarily conscious of our choice of identifying something and then saying how it should be some other way. But in reality, when we're here, we're really only seeing what it is, which is source energy. It is that higher energy and its capacity, and its not just its capacity to return home, but what it's actually doing, even though it's projecting that negative energy and projecting that separation, it is actually returning home to its true nature. But I feel like we're all in this triangle of brotherhood right now, and it's expanded into this massive flower of life that's going on in this communication right now in this podcast. We all have this newly attuned recognition of what we're doing here is also the energy between us that is in recognition of all angles and aspects of this flower of life, which through the water is expanding all of it. And we can notice it in things like our light-filled agriculture, our medicine that transcends life instantaneously. Drinking this water, and it fills us to a state that's completely overflowing with this source energy. And I don't give a fuck who is listening. I am only interested in love. I have only time for this expansion. Please bless me with your love. Bless me with your recognition and with your honor and with your source energy in ways that I have yet to experience. Because in that experience and in that shared flow of energy, we are co-creating magnificence as magnificent images of that source energy. So in the recognition of who we are working with and in the honoring of who we are working, what we are working with in all aspects of that, we no longer have the limits of the past, but we are fully present in what you are sharing, brother, in that sacred knowledge that you are always instilling in our brothers and sisters, which is that direct connection to the macro, the micro, the universal, and the source of all of us, which is also us. And in honor and recognition of all of that truth, we are no longer limited to the separation and the poisons and the chemicals in the... Okay, this is a good way to maybe finish this. Today, my sons and daughters went out with their grandmother to pick up, upon request, to pick up Pro Mix from a hardware store for their seeds from this farm. Wanted us to share the seeds in seedling form with the community, and they felt the best way to do that and to give the seeds the best opportunity for immediate life is with Pro Mix. My mom, which is the kid's grandmother, took them out to the hardware store today while we were at work and picked up a bale, and they brought it to the farm. And we all have a hard time with this, brother. Well, you know who we are, and you know why. There are a million reasons why we have a hard time with this, but we pulled it out of the car and started reading the bale, and it says on it that it's been inoculated with biological antifungal properties, and to destroy the possibility of life in a substance that isn't even really offering any support structure for life is so it seems like it's this massive weight, but in reality it's this massive blessing, because in our recognition of your sacred honoring of your brothers and sisters by sharing your grace with them and your lifetime of gathering of information, you have offered my family and so many families across the world this ability to recognize that for what it is and to celebrate that we already have everything we need. And all we have to do is go out and grab a little of that soil, put it in a capsule and put it in my mouth and swallow it, because, you know, like we've been doing that for a while too. And instantaneous magic is happening with that as well. But seriously, like biofungicide?
And I'm sure they had on the front mycorrhizae included, right?
Yes, brother. Yes.
You're killing it, and you say you got it. Okay. Yeah, that works.
So, like, that's just another example of what you're creating is absolute magnificence. And it's from this family's capacity to love, brother. It is being poured to you and your family and all of your families on a daily basis in a way that is helping us expand from that giving. And in that truth of being aware of this expansion of this heart in every now of this momentum, moment to moment, we are literally in the process of breathing gratitude and breathing that sacred recognition of that higher aspect of being in a way that honors all the elders, honors all the children, honors all being, all of creation, all the time. And through the heart, I think that we're all showing each other that, yeah, we came to play. Let's get to it.
Well, you got to give yourself a hug too once in a while, Dennis, because you, in many ways, have lit a fire that is so amazing in your community, within your family. I mean, that just connecting with your children and seeing that they are just raging fires of love. They're going to go out and start more expansions of that heartfelt understanding. It's an understanding. It's not a belief. You know it's there. You know spirit's there. You know source is there. It's not a belief, dude. It's way bigger. You know what it is? It's like an original idea. An original idea is the most possessive thing. If you have an original idea, you can't stop until you finish it. A prime example of it, creating a washing machine to wash compost to make a liquid extract that would penetrate soil. I never stopped. I just kept chasing it. The more I chase it, the more I realized that it was the key to unlocking, anybody's ability to transform their soil back into healthy soil. It dissolves the herbicides, it kills the pesticides, it breaks everything down. The key to it is because, my product specifically is based on fish brew. In fish brew, I get things that people don't talk about. We all know about degrading bacteria or decomposing bacteria, right? Foundation of compost, decomposers, right?
Yes.
No one talks about degraders or solubilizing bacteria. And what they do is, say a degrader comes in and hits this molecule, it breaks it into smaller molecules. Then a solubilizing one will come along and solubilize something that it couldn't get to before because it was ionically bound in the middle of this molecule. So now we've broken it down a little bit more. And each time you break off a carbon chain or any one of the many atoms that create that molecule, you've changed it again and again and again and pushed it back toward its original state. And anybody can do this. You don't even need fish brew. I mean, if you do have fish brew, now you're traveling faster than geological time, way faster. See, that's the problem with humanity. We only have 80 years on the planet, so everything has to be right now. I need it right now, right now. Whereas if you were perhaps a being that lived to 1,000 years, or 2,000, or 5,000, or 10,000 years, you wouldn't be in such a hurry. You wouldn't have to push things the way we do as a human. So by using products like fish brew, which I don't know of any other product I've ever run into in my life that has that, and I'll explain to you why it has it, Dennis. It's because if you feed a pound of feed to a fish, you'll get almost 0.92 or 94 pounds put on that fish. Best feed conversion ratio of any animal on the planet.
Wow.
The reason is not just the food, but the fact that they have biofilm on the outside of their body. That biofilm is caked with degraders, decomposers, solubilizers, because they're pulling the mineral out of the water. The outside of their fish is just as equally as important as the inside of the fish, the stomach. And everyone who's ever fished has picked up a fish and felt that biofilm, that slime on the outside of them. Mm-hmm. So, that is what these products do, is they create biofilm in the soil. And that biofilm supports these advanced colonies and communities that are working together, like I wish humanity would. But again, everybody has the ability to do it. It's just they're scared, they're fearful, they're living in that box, and perhaps they don't want to know what's going on outside that box, because that'll scare them even more. Instead of what they don't realize, it'll enlighten them. It'll take the fear away. And that's the hard part, dude. And so guys like you and your family are breaking that providing that key and breaking that box apart and giving others the hope that they need to move forward and hopefully evolve and enlighten. So big kudos to you guys. Big kudos.
Thank you, brother. We're very interested in expanding this and being asked to expand it. Like most things, in the water lab, for example, that's another good example. It's
yeah, that's right. We were supposed to be talking about water, right?
yeah. We are that. We are. Yeah, that's
funny how it works, right? You know, it kind of escalates.
Amazing, totally amazing. You know, what we've seen happening with all of it is it's remarkable. The biofilm, for example, we can use this to tie it all together, which is really crazy. So 2 weeks ago, we had a longtime friend, stop at the barn. She's a member of the PMA. And by the way, it would be so much easier to build this bridge across the world if we just had like 1 million members of this PMA. So everyone and their brother and sister should become members of the barn, because that sovereign recognition and ability to co-create something bigger than ourselves and recognize our capacity to like expand out of that fear and out of that thing that kept us from who we were the whole time, that, you know, in this life. I think getting back to who we are allows us to look at things like biofilm and have a conversation about what's going on the outside of a fish, and it's what's also going on inside this sacred medicine that's being shared with the plants, with the soil system, but also what's going on with the biofilm in our bodies. There are people studying right now the relation between biofilm and disease and the shortening of our lifespans. So, and the communication within the body around biofilm. So its relation to water and all of these different things are probably things that haven't been considered yet. So, you know, just this conversation, stepping into, collectively, we're stepping into this new flower of awareness that can transcend what we understand about the connection between all of those things. And I'm actually wearing a shirt that says Fish Brew, and on the back of the shirt it says soil to soul. Is that what it says? Soul to soil. I love that. We have music, you know, as you probably know, we have music all about this. But it's just really cool. The shirt, we love the shirt, but the product, we've never really gotten anything from a farm that we wanted to support that we could readily use and experience the immediate and long-term benefits from. And I didn't even know about the biofilm and its benefits. I had no idea.
The problem is that the medical industry created fear of biofilm. They use the word strep. They use, what is that thing that you get in the hospital? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but biofilm is the foundation of life. Wow. If there was no biofilm to hold the biology and bacteria together in communities, they would never survive. So medical industry has demonized it and will continue to demonize it because they don't want you to know or understand how valuable biofilm actually is in your soil. When you stick your hands in the soil and you pull up a clod, that's biofilm that's holding that together. Otherwise, it would just fall between your fingers as sand, silt, clay, and organic matter. So, you know, again, it's the powers that be that try to make us fear things instead of saying, oh, no, that if you don't have enough biofilm in your body, then you can't fight the diseases. You can't protect individual organs. So, you know, it's that I'm not going to get frustrated. I'm just going to send love to the world. But don't listen to that shit. Biofilm is the foundation of all life on this planet.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's something so special to pick up, like you were saying, to pick up a chunk of soil, and that fungal dominant soil. It's holding itself together. But it's another thing to pick up what you think is going to be a little piece, and this whole massive, I can't get my hands big enough on the screen, but this whole massive brick, it's not like it used to be these handfuls, but now it's like this brick. It's like this network of white communication, like, isn't that what it is really? It's this thriving network that
there's so much communication we don't understand. Chemotaxis, electrical signal, as well as transfer of fluids. We had James White on a few weeks back too, and we started going down a rabbit hole.
Last week. He was last week.
I'm in a time warp, forgive me. Last week we had him on, and we were talking about the fact that pretty much all cells, all fungi, have endophytes, fungal and bacterial in them. So one of the coolest things ever was a few years back, they came out with the first clear indication that both mycorrhizae and saprophytes would allow bacteria into their body and then shoot them down the tube. So they could now transfer biology between plants. Let's say this plant needed more phosphate solubilizing bacteria. Well, I'll trade you those for potassium solubilizing. And the outer coat, there's a rhizosphere on the outer coat or shell of the hyphae that's doing the same damn thing. It's moving liquid inside and outside. It's moving biology inside and outside. It's moving chemistry. It's moving organisms. It's moving enzymes, peptides. It gets fucking deep really fast.
Leighton, I just wanted to also put out a point with easy water and those tubes of energy moving this stuff and helping it all move. I think the three probably are connected.
You think?
Yeah, and also if you look at our neurological
pathways,
for that matter, all of our biological pathways, a lot of them are communicating instantaneously. So that means that there's a light signal being sent throughout all of our neurons and all of our what we consider to be autonomic systems. All of these things can be in direct communication with the rest of what you're explaining. And I feel like maybe we always are in direct communication, whether we are aware of it or not. And whatever energy we're offering is what and how we are amplifying the water and the soil. And for that matter, the life within the soil. So that was something that you recognized while you were here, was the amplification or the level of vibration or the amount of life present in the microorganisms that you were finding on the slides at our farms. I feel like that is a really good representation of all of the communication that's happening at that level, and then inside our bodies, and then in the fungal network that, spans the whole earth, but also in that energetic system that is universal and also in other dimensions. I feel like connecting all of these different layers of our existence is, and not just connecting it, but allowing this information in a way that empowers the fruit of that empowerment. The experience of, for example, the terpenes of the cannabis that is just finishing up now, that came from all of that study, and studying you gentlemen's work for so long has allowed them to bring all of that work indoors. And as far as I know, creating like a garden that I don't know. I've never seen gardens like that before, but I can honestly say that in all of the observations that I have the capacity to place myself into, and we as a family are flowing in, we are actually just completely blown away. And that fruit's ability to call us in, that fruit's ability to grab a hold of us and say, come over here and smell this medicine. Come over here and experience just to be with this plant. And I tell you what, all of this communication of light that's happening instantaneously in the microhyzae and the energy between all of these things, the water and our intention and our inspiration and the future and the past and the present and the presence, like all of these things combining in this soup of our collection has been, from our perspective as a community and what we consider to be all our family, this growing family that we're part of. There are not words for our adventures in spirit. And, that's sort of like this play on words that we're always playing with words like recognition. Just the other day, we put a hyphen between, re and cognition, because it gives us a new way to look at our capacity to breathe in gratitude, our capacity to recognize in gratitude, and to have that lens of only truth that offers that expansion in each moment that we are interacting. And so the soil, it literally becomes us in the consumption of it, in the light communication between the other organisms, between the plants and the medicines and the terpenes in the plants and the cannabinoids. But then you take and follow those terpenes and flavonoids and cannabinoids from the cannabis plant, for example, directly into our body's communication network called the endogenous cannabinoid system. All of these different levels of communication coming together in a way that is forming this fabric or this bridge around the world that we're now recognizing as a family, and we're recognizing as a chosen family with chosen seeds that come from this new awareness and come from this observing these larger instantaneous aspects of the communication of light between all of these Higgs boson or God particles. And if we consider in every cubic centimeter of space, there's enough energy to run the universe for millions of years, or maybe it's the Earth for millions of years. Regardless, we have this energy within just this physical form that is literally limitless. We don't have the capacity to use that, definitely not in this life. So, when we start to really get into who we are as water, who we are as the communication of light, who we are as light, who we are as this recognition of the life and the thriving vibration that is frequency, and that is the recognition of all being as our presence. Pretty soon, we are now like communicating with very intentional seeds that transcend, all of these challenges, and recognizing all of them as blessings, and recognizing all of the light that we see everywhere we look. Even if we're looking at contrast, we look directly through that illusion, directly through that illusion of separation, and into that reunion, into that communion that happens between the soil and the endocannabinoid system and the water and the terpenes and the flavonoids and the brothers and sisters around the world, and the energy that's supporting all of us and is us, and all of this. Now we're talking about this harmonic resonance that our heart has always known and remembers. And as we like recognize one another for co-creating it and remembering it as we're co-creating it and empowering one another through that co-creation and recognition, and soon we all become that guru. Soon we all become that master. Soon we all become that expansion and transcendence of all of those masters' teachings, because in that awareness that allows that consciousness to be us and allows this physical form to be that consciousness, in this sacred giving and receiving of that recognition of this family and of that recognition of who and what we are communicating with, we really have transcended in all of its capacity of healing into a whole new world. And recognizing that we are in this new place, we're just reaching through the illusion now, and through those systems of separation that were once viewed as challenges, but now are viewed as this beautiful opportunity to grab a hold of each of our brothers and sisters, and even the ones that are the hardest to grab hold of, grabbing hold of all of them. And together we walk this path of the next generations, of the soil and its true vibration. And this path is something we just all know. It's something so real that it encompasses all of what's real, and it helps us celebrate and recognize our celebration. And in that like recognition and celebration, we are literally creating a new realization, a new comprehension of existence and experience. And in that experience, we're expressing new levels of expansion. So we're expressing in our creative ability an entirely new creation, finally. But maybe, like you're saying, it might not be new. It might be something that you've already.
You're unlocking potential, is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, you're unlocking an individual's potential to grow beyond what he's been or she's been told that they can or cannot do. And so, you know, again, that's the beauty of these plants like cannabis and mushrooms. I mean, that's why they've been demonized, because they gave humans, individuals, an ability to actually critical think. God forbid, right? God forbid they think for themselves. So that's why they've demonized them and taken it away from us and criminalized it, when in reality it was put here to help us evolve spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And you know, so here we are in the day of coming out of prohibition, which was crazy for me. I mean, I grew up fearful that if I got caught smelling like weed, let alone smoking it, that I would be thrown out of school or you know, arrested or whatever. So you know, I still have, you know, some little bit of PSTD about smoking it. Like, looking around, make sure no one's seeing me, and I'm like, why? It's legal. I'm fucking almost 60, for God's sake. But I still have that little bit of PSTD in me that it reminds me that this plant was at one point criminal to have, and there's still people locked up for it. It's really sad and a shame on humanity for doing that. So there is one question, and I think we probably should answer it because it might be a long one. And Silly, just for your own knowledge, it was staph infection, which I think is MRSA comes under that umbrella term. Ken, you want to go ahead and fire that question to Dennis?
Sure. One basic question: why does one bring in fungal microbes when all vegetables and produce are plants are designed for bacterial dominance?
Oh, that's not true. There are certain plants called brassicas, which are more bacterially dominant, but that they still have some interaction with fungi. Look, we don't even know how to qualify this, let alone quantify it. Dr. Lane was the first person to take a stab at that. And she said in an undisturbed system, the redwoods would be 10,000 to 1 fungal to bacteria. And in a swamp or what we call riparian system, that would be 0.5 fungi to bacteria. But that doesn't include mycorrhizae. That only includes saprophytes. So what does that tell you? Mycorrhizae are everywhere. They're underwater. They're on the shore. And they've never been counted or considered as part of that F to B relationship. So yeah, there's a lot more work that needs to happen on that. And because there's no money in it for pharma or big ag, because they don't care, they just want to sell you chemicals. They want to get you to buy their wood that they can't pay to get rid of. They couldn't pay to get rid of that shit, people. The landfills wouldn't take it. It's too fucking toxic. But they've convinced you to spray it on your soil. The insanity of humanity. You just can't make this shit up. Well, I was hoping for like a more water directed question, but Dennis, we've got 9 minutes left. Tell us where you're going next with your water experiments.
Yeah, so we would like to take these experiments on the road. We would like to take them across the country. The water is a really big thing, though, brother. It really is about the physical connection. It's about the energetic connection. It's about bringing all of this together. So, it seems as though whenever there are solutions available, like these renewable energy resources, perpetual energy resources, things like the water torch that will basically, make all heating free, and all of these different amazing things that will happen. A lot of times, like we were talking, these things will be silenced or minimized, just like in the past. But the reality is, it seems as though things are moving faster than they ever have before. And recently, our family has sort of like opened up our ability to work together all across the world. And in saying that, really all we've done is allowed for the contribution from all over into this project of not just clear water vision, but like we've been talking, all of this stuff is directly connected, and it all has to be part of this bridge of existing in our solutions together. And a lot of us are existing there, like our community, for example. Sometimes it can feel like we know how difficult it is out there in the world, but we also know how intentional we are with our creation, and we're literally creating heaven on earth. And it's hard to explain that to somebody that isn't here experiencing it every day, but to be there and experiencing it, or to seeing it online, is just like, it's sort of undeniable to be part of this thing. And all of these different groups coming together has been our passion and our desire for a long time, but now it's finally starting to happen in really big ways, where it feels like the support is coming in, or the possibility of it at least. And we are fully open to whatever comes our way, because it's the expansion of all of us. It's the bridge for all of us. It's something that we can bridge city to city to city. It's something that we no longer have to separate ourselves from with these fake ass borders and these regulations that, like you were saying, separate us from nature in these ways that separate us from our true consciousness. Like these laws, they did this for a reason. Like they separated us from our ability to communicate at that neurological level. The endocannabinoid system, when it's shut down or malnourished or not fed, the whole body's communication system gets out of balance. But that's a good metaphor for what's going on with the separation across our country. But even more important than the separation across our country, looking back generations, the separation across our world that's manipulated through these systems of division that is all here. You know, it's all taught. And this being does not want to bomb any beings. This being does not want to make any soil toxic. This being wants to steward all soils, all water, all life in a way that is offering great reverence and great appreciation for everything in the past, everything in the present, and everything in the future, knowing that we are the connection between all of it. And for us as a family, that's where we find our meaning. That's where we find our empowerment, by letting go of those systems or those lies that we may have told ourselves as beliefs and allowed, because even though they were painful, they were comfortable. Painful, if that makes any sense at all. It really does. Because on the other side, this is complete ease and a trajectory that is of your creation. So these seeds are of your creation, And I cannot wait until I get to meet and really hug brothers and sisters in that energy and in that recognition, in a way that we can like party in that sharing of energies, and we can like truly expand into new levels of your revelation and your all of your lifetime's existences into this now moment, and what you bless us all with, and what I offer in that same energy. And as we collectively come together and combine all of these new technologies with old technologies, and primitive skills with sacred seeds that haven't been indoctrinated with those chemicals and all of that system of separation, now we're like really singing. Now, like, you can feel it. And in that feeling, you're manifesting that ringing being. In the feeling of that ringing being and exemplifying that higher vibration that offers this new way of experiencing what source is, now we can really fly, family. Now we are like in the recognition of flight, and in the song of rhythm, and in the beauty of that motion, and all time being present in that flow of energy. And with our ability to simply say, I love you. I see you, brother. I see you, sister. I see God. I recognize what I'm looking at. I honor you for every step you've ever taken. I honor you for every seed you've always planted. And I still will continue for every moment of my existence, exemplify the truth of God, the will of source, the expansion of love that has no barriers. It has no limitation. It has no ability to be minimized, because there is only love here. And in that recognition of that song and that beauty, I would just say that you have, both of you, all of you have offered, every single one of you have offered my family that mirror, that real fucking mirror. We can't see a mirror in that glass like thing that we think we see our reflection in. To see our true image, we have to be our true image. And in that sacred giving, we also receive the expansion of that giving. And in that gratitude and appreciation, we are honoring this expansion of every seed, an expansion of God and of source and of consciousness, in a way that when we experience these things with any of the sacred plants, lettuce, cucumbers, grapes, apples, lemons, turmeric. Yes, the consciousness expanding sacred medicines as well. You know, let's just reunite and have this sacred reunion with all of our expansion and honor that communion in a state of reverence, in a state of real recognition. You know, like family to family, we're here now, and let's do this thing.
100%. 100%. We did have one more question come in on water, actually. Did I miss what is between the molecules of water?
I saw that. So silly. It's called a bond. In water, it's called a covalent bond. There are ionic bonds. There are other types of bonds, but it's basically one of the main bonds is called a covalent bond, and it's between just the hydrogen and the oxygens. And that's why water is one of the most powerful, is that it is only 3 atoms. I hope I answered that question. And Dennis, I want to just thank you. I love you, brother, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for coming on and sharing today. I truly hope that you get your ass out here to the West Coast. I'd be more than happy to put you guys up. I have two spare bedrooms, and I'd love to see you guys. So yeah, if you get on the road, by all means, let me know. We got a place here in Oxnard for you guys to come crash, and I'm like about a minute from the beach, so it's a tough place to live.
Oh,
thank you, brother. Would love to get out there. All we need is a truck. We've already got the tow behind, so if it's at all a possibility, we'll be on our way.
If you want to come out in winter, it's fucking gorgeous here, dude. It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Only place I've found I can work year round.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. That sounds like home to me.
There was literally, like, I think a month after living here that my landlord came by to check on Pauline and I said, I hate to tell you this, Deb, but you're literally going to have to take me out of here a body bag. This place is hot.
Wow.
So I get you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, why don't we go ahead and cut it off? I've got to run some errands before it gets too late tonight. Things start closing down. But I'm giving you a virtual hug. Fucking squeezing the shit out of you, Dennis. And I hope you can go share that with the rest of your family tonight.
I think there's 2 boys, one on each side of you right now. So we'll just put it a bit.
There we go. Group hug.
Love you all, guys. Love you all so much. Can't wait to see you all.
Yeah. Keep up the good work, and please come back in a few months and tell us, where you're at and some of the other work that you've been continuing to do.
Definitely. Looking forward to that. Love you guys. Love you all. Thank you all.
Pleasure is ours, my friend. Pleasure is ours. And Ken, as always, thank you for all the behind the scenes work that you're doing and getting this information out to the world. Big ups, dude. Big ups.
And this is one of those things that I'm going to be putting shorts and clips of, guys. So share them with your friends. The more people that hear this knowledge, the better off we all are. Become those lit candles like Dennis, like Leighton, like myself, and like so many others in the world. Become that lit candle and share this information. And with that, guys, peace out. And I'll see you in a couple of hours with another show. So you can check that out in about an hour and 45 minutes.